Well, there was much reaction across the political front there, but the stock markets also reacted, plunging today in Kenya after the Supreme Court nullified the presidential elections. The market fell by nearly 10% before trading was halted. $484 million was lost in less than 10 minutes after the elections were annulled. We're now joined by Aly-Khan Satchu, who joins us from Kenya via Skype, and he's one that watches the markets quite a bit. For a number of years he's been at it. Aly-Khan, were you surprised by what happened today? I mean, we were shocked, and we're all the way here in Johannesburg in South Africa. The markets didn't know what to do.
Absolutely, Peter. We saw this extraordinary reaction, the introduction of circuit breakers for the first time in at least 7 or 8 years. It was a very dramatic reaction in the markets. But, bear in mind, we rallied about 10% immediately after the election until this morning. So it tells us about how unexpected this court decision was. I think it took most people by surprise. No one expected the court to rule in this way. But I think we got to look at this in a positive manner. It shows our institutions have life, they're alive, and I think in the medium term, people are going to look at this positively. In the near term, the problem is the economy was slowing down already. We had a drought here. Food prices had gone through the roof. We had a situation because of the interest rate bill where the economy was being starved of credit. And now we've got this extended, this kind of fever that Kenya has every 5 years, and it's been extended for another 2 months. And I'm not sure, Peter, when I look at the situation, is the IEBC going to be reconstituted? I still feel the president, won by a clear majority in this election. Will the opposition be disappointed if an election's held and he wins again? So there are quite a few complexities, and hence people decided to bag some gains and stand on the sidelines.
So again, let's just look at those markets a bit more. There's these bellwether stocks like Safaricom, I guess. How did they perform today? There would have been a time where there's the reaction, and then the trading stopped, and then they had time to think about what's actually going on. By the end of the day, what would you say was the prevailing sentiment?
Look, the market has been up strongly this year, Peter. Safaricom was up 44% through this morning before a close to 6% correction today. So, people have had really great gains. This is an Africa-wide story. The South African all shares close to a record. Ghana's up 40%. Even Nigeria's up 30 or 40%. So these have been salad days for equity investors in most places on the continent. So today's reaction was dramatic. And I'm one who thinks we're going to see some spillover into Monday and Tuesday. A lot will depend, I think, on the tone of both the leaders. I think the president needs to be inclusive and slightly above the fray. I think the worry and the opposition needs similarly now to stake out their case. But I do think we'll see some spillover selling into the early part of next week. This hasn't ended yet.
All right. So you said that on the one hand, it suggests that the judiciary is strong and independent, 4 out of 6 judges making their decision. But I suppose the other thing that markets like to do is try and measure risk. And, no one wants to talk about it, but there's always this undercurrent and fear that violence might break out with the elections before this event now.
Yes.
Is that something that you would be watching now in the coming days?
I think, I think actually I've got to commend Kenyans in the way they voted, the way they've handled themselves. It's been a miracle to watch, and it makes me very proud to be a Kenyan. If you watch some of these queues, people stood there for hours on end. The faith in democracy is there, and it's something that's wonderful to behold. And actually, it's a sub-Saharan African phenomenon, and it's something we should all be proud of. But the problem for the markets is we're looking at quite a bifurcated outcome. Kenya has been a free market economy in a way even more than South Africa. For more than 50 years, You can change your money here for a tiny spread. You can take your money, go wherever you want. It's quite extraordinary when you compare it to other African countries. As opposed to that, we have an opposition which I think inclines towards the Magufuli school of economics. And I think, therefore, you have quite a bifurcated outcome, and hence you're seeing these very dramatic price reactions like we saw today. So less violence risk, more economic outcome risk, because each side is proposing quite a different economic strategy.
All right, so 60 days, elections must happen, but is it likely that they will? The Electoral Commission itself is the one that's under scrutiny, and they're the ones that are supposed to run the elections. So is it likely or unlikely that we'll have elections in that time?
You know, I watched those elections in Gambia, and I think the best solution here, because the opposition is completely traducing the IEBC and clearly has no faith in them. I don't understand how institutions such as the IEBC that's been, that has been denigrated in this manner in a court decision can possibly hold the election credibly in 60 days. It seems to me a non sequitur. They can't possibly do it after the Supreme Court decision. So my radical strategy and radical idea is we should introduce marbles like they had in the Gambia. It'll be a lot cheaper and it'll be transparent.
Okay, fantastic. Aly-Khan Satchu, pleasure talking to you. Thanks very much for joining us. That CEO of Rich Management, he's a trader, he's watching the markets and the political situation for us in Kenya. And what a dramatic day it was. Now,